Hi, this video is for those who are considering doing a motorcycle track day, but who may not know what it takes to get out there and what it's like when you get there. In these three parts, I will go over bike preparation, things that you need to take with you to the track, and what actually happens when you get to the track, such as going through tech and registration and the driver's meeting and so on. But what I want to start with is, why should you do a track day? Let me just suggest that if you have a motorcycle like this, you have not come close to exploring the potential of what it is designed for. You can't do it legally on the street. You certainly can't do it safely on the street. But you get out to a track and you will be in a whole new world. The tracks are reasonably wide, much wider than a typical street, usually in better condition, clear of gravel, clear of traffic approaching the other way and turning in front of you. The turns typically have runoff areas that you can go into if you blow the turn. There's medical equipment there. In the case of where I go, there's 2 ambulances, so if something does happen, you're going to be taken care of pretty quickly. And the bottom line, you're going to go faster than you've ever gone, and your skills as a rider will tremendously improve, which will have the benefit of when you do go back onto the street. I will tell you that I believe track days are in fact safer than the street. Again, I'm not an expert, I'm not an authority on that, it's just my opinion. But I will tell you there are people out there who only do track days and have given up riding on the street because they think it's safer and that it's crazy out there, which, as you know, is often the case. So, if that's who you are, stick around. Let's go over, front to back, top to bottom, what I've done to my motorcycle to prepare it for this weekend's track day. The track day organization I'm going to is Fast Track Riders at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana. I should tell you I'm not affiliated with them, but I think they're really a great organization. But the rules that I am following here really apply to their organization and may not apply to every track day provider. So keep that in mind and consult their web resources or contact them to find out what they want you to do to prepare your bike. But here's what I've done to mine. Starting at the front, I've taped up my headlights right and left, and then I'll explain this thing in the middle here in a second. So, they want you to tape up the headlights because in the event of a crash, those shards tend to be sharper than the plastic bits of your fairing. Okay, fine. As you can see, I've used that semi-sticky blue painter's tape. That just makes it easier to remove when I'm done. As far as the big square in the middle, I've only put that on because at Fast Track, the number plate they put on your bike tends to be really sticky, and getting it off can be a real pain when you're done. So I put that there as a simple as a base to put their sticker on top of. No big deal. As you can see, I've removed my mirrors and replaced them in this case with these mirror blanks. You don't have to use mirror blanks. In fact, you don't even have to remove your mirrors in many cases. I just think it's a lot more fun to turn your bike more into a race bike when you're going to the track, and it gets them out of the way, and perhaps it's one less thing to break if you crash. If you choose not to remove your mirrors, you still will tape them over. Why? Because your focus is going to be forward. You don't look back or don't use your mirrors when you're riding at the track. Your job is to worry about what's in front of you, just as the fellow behind you, or woman, there's lots of women out there these days, they're supposed to watch out for you. Now, even though I've used the blue painter's tape on the headlights, and before I leave, I should tell you I've removed the headlamp fuse. Why? Because after a day of riding with those lights on, that adhesive will become a hot, sticky mess. So remove the headlamp fuse when you tape your headlamps. Now, even though I've used blue painter's tape for the headlamp, for the wheel weights, I have covered them with a heavier tape, a duct tape. This is because it is stronger and is basically required in case the weights work themselves loose. I haven't really talked about cooling, and I won't too much here, because Fast Track does not require that you substitute your coolant for water. Some organizations do. I think the reason for that is that coolant is very, very slippery. So if you have a crash and coolant gets all over the place, it can be pretty dangerous. Now, you didn't see me do it, but you're just going to have to trust me that underneath that fairing I have safety wired my oil filter and drain plug. Again, not necessarily required by every track day organization, and it's certainly not required by Fast Track. But safety wiring is a very simple thing to do if you have the tool, or your shop can do it for you, but I recommend doing it yourself. And it basically keeps your oil filter and drain plug from backing out. Now, if you haven't safety wired them, and in any event, of course, make sure your oil filter and drain plug are tightened appropriately and snug. That is probably one of the most important things you can do for your safety and the safety of everyone else out there. I'm not going to give you any opinion on oil changes and that sort of thing. You'll find people out there that change their oil after every track day. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it's not really relevant to my video. At the back here, you'll see I've removed my license plate and my turn signals. Now, a lot of folks actually tape over their license plate. It's not necessarily required to take it off, but again, I liked to do that. I made a point of cleaning and lubricating my chain and checking the tension. I'm pointing here, not that you can see it, that's where I removed the fuse. The bottom line, as you work on your bike, preparing it for a track day, cleaning it up is a good thing to do. Take the fairings off. Do a good visual inspection of everything. You know, make sure your fluids are appropriately full, that sort of thing. Fast Track at one point talked about taping over your gauge. I don't think that's an issue anymore, because frankly you have to use your gauges to see your RPMs and that sort of thing. And I will say though that one thing you don't need your gauge for when you're riding is to check your speed, because you really shouldn't be paying too much attention to that while you're riding. There's lots of other things to keep you busy. So a good thorough once over of your bike is critical for a track day. But perhaps the most important thing for any track day is the condition of your tires. There is a saying that you only scrimp on tires once. Make absolutely positively sure your tires are in great shape. And by the way, if your tires are worn down so they don't have any tread, that does not make them slicks. That just makes them old tires. Now, you will be running different pressures at the track than you do on the street, typically less. I'm not going to tell you what to run, but how do you find out? Well, you can contact your dealer. They usually have some thoughts about that. The manufacturers of the tires on their websites may be able to give you some information about that. And at least where I go, there's a guy selling you tires who will tell you all about tire inflation pressures. Bottom line, if you're going to go out to the track, you probably should have a good tire gauge with you to make sure you're running the correct pressures. And again, make absolutely sure that your tires are in great shape. And it goes without saying, the other components of your bike, the brakes, the pegs, you name it, everything's got to be good. Good to go. That way you'll have a good time out there.